Arise, O cupbearer, rise, and bring to lips that are thirsting the bowl they praise. For it seemed that love was an easy thing, but my feet have fallen on difficult ways. I have prayed the wind o'er my heart to fling the fragrance of musk in her hair that sleeps. In the night of her hair, yet no fragrance stays the tears of my heart's blood, my sad heart weeps. Hear the tavern keeper who counsels you, with wine, with red wine, your prayer carpet dye. Aye, there was never a traveler like him, but knew the ways of the road and the hostelry. Where shall I rest when the still night through? Beyond thy gateway, O heart of my heart, the bells of the camels lament and cry. Bind up thy burden again and depart. The waves run high, night is clouded with fears, and eddying whirlpools clash and roar. How shall my drowning voice strike their ears, whose light-freighted vessels have reached the shore? I sought mine own. The unsparing years have brought me mine own, a dishonored name. What cloak shall cover my misery o'er, when each jesting mouth has rehearsed my shame? O Hafiz, seeking an end to strife, hold fast in thy mind what the wise have writ. If at last thou attain the desire of thy life, cast the world aside. Yea, abandon it. Imagine yourself standing alone in the stillness of the night, the weight of your past pressing against you like an unyielding storm. Around you, the world seems vast and indifferent, uncaring even. The path you've walked is not the one you imagined when you first set out. The struggles and disappointments have left their scars on your heart. Yet within you, there is a thirst that cannot be quenched by anything the world offers. It is a thirst for love, for connection, for meaning. Khwājā Shams-ud-Dīn Muḥammad Ḥāfeẓ-e Shīrāzī, simply known as Hafiz, the 14th century Persian poet, speaks directly to this longing in his timeless words. In his poem, he calls upon the cupbearer, the one who serves the wine of spiritual ecstasy. But what is this wine? It's not the kind that we drink to forget the pain of our lives, but rather the kind that brings clarity, wisdom, and transcendence. Hafiz does not call for the mundane pleasures of the world. Instead, he calls for the elixir that can help us see beyond the veil of suffering. The cupbearer is not a mere servant in this scene. He represents something far deeper, a divine force that can carry us beyond the veil of our own self-imposed limitations. When Hafiz asks him to rise, he is not simply asking for the pleasure of the drink. He is yearning for something far more profound. This longing is not only for the satisfaction of the body, but for the nourishment of the soul. As we sit with this metaphor, we begin to understand that Hafiz is teaching us a lesson about our own struggle. Life has a way of breaking us down, of pushing us to places we never imagined we'd go. But through the most difficult journeys, there is an invitation to awaken. The wine that Hafiz speaks of is not something we sip in moments of joy, but something we drink in moments of vulnerability, in times when we feel lost and alone. It is in these moments that the deepest insights are revealed. Yet, in the midst of this deep yearning, Hafiz reminds us that the road is not easy. Love is not as simple as we once believed it to be. The illusions of simplicity shatter as we step into the complexity of life. Our feet stumble on difficult paths, and the journey becomes a battle between the heart's desires and the harsh realities we face. This internal conflict is one that Hafiz understands deeply. But what he offers us is not just the recognition of this struggle, it is the invitation to embrace it. The night is long, and the heart's sorrow weighs heavily. But within this sorrow lies the promise of something greater. Just as Hafiz calls out to the cupbearer, he also calls out to us, to awaken to the deeper truths that are hidden within our own struggles. We are not alone in our suffering. It is part of the shared human experience. The journey may be painful, but it is also beautiful in its own right. This is the paradox of life. It is in the pain that we are most likely to encounter the divine. In the second part of Hafiz's poem, we encounter an image of the soul's despair. The speaker reflects on the wind, the fragrance of musk, and the elusive hope that seems to hover just beyond his reach. He has called for the wind to carry the scent of love, a symbol of divine presence, into his heart. Yet, despite his pleas, the fragrance never comes. His heart is empty, and his efforts to find solace seem futile. This moment of despair is crucial. It reveals the vulnerability of the human spirit and the depth of our longing. So often, we believe that the divine should be easily accessible, that the answers to our prayers should come quickly, and that the journey should be clear and direct. But Hafiz teaches us something profound here. The absence of what we desire is not a sign of failure. Instead, it is a sign of the mystery of existence itself. The fragrance of musk that the poet calls for symbolizes the presence of the divine, an essence that we yearn for in the deepest part of our being. Yet, it doesn't arrive on command. In this moment, the poet is faced with the reality that the divine is not always something that can be grasped. It cannot be forced, nor can it be fully understood by the mind alone. We cannot will the divine into our lives. It is beyond our control. And this too is part of the lesson. Through this absence, Hafiz shows us that the path to divine connection is not linear. It is filled with moments of longing, confusion, and uncertainty. This is where we find the greatest lesson of all. The divine does not reveal itself to us in a straightforward manner. Instead, it comes in glimpses, in moments of grace that are often fleeting. The more we chase after it, the more it seems to elude us. Yet, despite this seeming emptiness, Hafiz offers us hope. He speaks of the heart's blood, the very essence of life, that weeping within. In these tears, there is a kind of prayer, a prayer that reaches the divine in ways words never could. Hafiz understands that love, in its purest form, requires surrender. It is not something we control. It is something we open ourselves to, even in our sorrow. This surrender is the key to understanding the true nature of love. It is not about achieving or conquering. It is about allowing ourselves to be broken open by the divine. When we let go of our need to control and simply exist in the moment, we find ourselves closer to the divine presence. In the tears of our heart's blood, in the longing that never seems to be fulfilled, there is a quiet beauty that beckons us to step beyond the realm of ego and into the realm of true spiritual connection. The figure of the tavern keeper in Hafiz's poem plays a pivotal role in the spiritual journey. He is the one who gives counsel, who offers wisdom, and who understands the ways of the road. It is the tavern keeper who advises the poet to dye his prayer carpet with wine. The suggestion may seem strange, even sacrilegious to the untrained eye. But within the context of Sufi philosophy, it carries deep significance. In Sufi thought, the act of coloring or transforming something ordinary into something extraordinary is a metaphor for the spiritual journey. The prayer carpet, which symbolizes devotion and piety, is meant to be dyed with wine, an elixir that represents divine ecstasy and spiritual illumination. This is not a call to abandon the sacred. Rather, it is an invitation to transcend the limitations of conventional religious practices and to embrace the deeper, more mystical aspects of spiritual life. The wine, then, is not just a symbol of intoxication, but of the ecstatic union between the seeker and the divine. It is through this ecstatic union that the soul finds its true purpose. The tavern keeper's wisdom reminds us that the journey to the divine is not about following rigid rules or doctrines. It is about experiencing the divine presence in the most intimate and personal way. The prayer carpet is no longer just a tool for ritual. It becomes a symbol of the seeker's deeper connection to the divine. By advising the poet to dye his prayer carpet with wine, the tavern keeper is calling for a transformation, a radical shift in perspective. The world we see is not merely a collection of material things. It is a reflection of the divine. To experience the world in its fullness is to see it through the eyes of love and devotion. When we allow ourselves to be touched by the divine in every aspect of our lives, our entire existence becomes an act of worship. Hafiz's poem ends with a poignant image: the camels lamenting and crying as they pass beyond the poet's gate. The message is clear. The journey is never truly over. Even after we have sought, found, and tasted the divine, the road continues. There is always another level of understanding, another layer of truth to uncover. In Sufi thought, this eternal journey is not about reaching a final destination. It is about returning again and again to the source. The bells of the camels remind us that the spiritual path is cyclical, and we are always invited to return to the beginning, to the place where we first began our search. This is the paradox of the spiritual life. No matter how much we learn, we are always called to return to the heart of the mystery, to the divine presence that is both within and beyond us. The journey itself is the destination. The search for meaning is not a quest that ends with a single revelation. It is a never-ending process of growth, surrender, and renewal. Hafiz's poem, with its images of longing, loss, and hope, speaks to the timeless nature of this journey. It invites us to see our own lives as part of this greater cosmic movement, a movement that transcends the limitations of time and space. The final wisdom of the poem, echoed by Hafiz's own voice, is the recognition that once we have attained the desire of our hearts, we must be willing to let go of the world's illusions. The moment we grasp what we have longed for is the moment we are invited to step beyond it, to surrender it to the divine, and to continue our journey with an open heart. Hafiz's poem ultimately invites us to question the nature of love, longing, and the divine. Through his words, we are called to embrace the journey, to see the divine in all things, and to understand that the path to spiritual fulfillment is one that requires both surrender and commitment. It is a path of paradox, where we find ourselves longing for something we cannot fully understand, yet feeling the pull of that longing more deeply than anything else in life. The poem reminds us that our struggles are not obstacles, but opportunities for transformation. Every tear, every moment of sorrow, every fleeting joy is part of the divine dance that we are all invited to join. The deeper we go, the more we discover that the very essence of life is love. The love that moves us, shapes us, and calls us to awaken to our highest potential. As we reflect on Hafiz's words, we find that the ultimate wisdom lies in the recognition that the journey is not about finding answers, but about embracing the questions. The more we seek, the more we are led to a deeper understanding of ourselves, the world, and the divine. And in this seeking, we find not only the divine but also our true selves, hidden in the depth of our longing.